Remember the golden age of the PlayStation 2? The PS2 was home to some of the greatest horror games of all time. But some incredible and not so incredible but definitely interesting horror games slipped under the radar and faded into obscurity since. Today we are looking into those forgotten horror games of that amazing PlayStation 2 era. Curse, The Eye of Isis, developed by Asylum Entertainment, takes us back to the roots of survivor horror, following in the footsteps of Resident Evil with meticulous care. Set in the late 19th century, the game centers around the mysterious Eye of Isis, an artifact with a dark history of bringing misfortune to its owners. It's 1819 and you are Darian Dane, son of the late Dr. Stanley Dane who uncovered the Eye of Isis years ago. As you step into the Museum of Great Britain, you are greeted not by the warm embrace of ancient history, but by thugs, a cat burglar, and a malicious yellow mist that got a serious grudge against your family. And as you navigate the dark corridors of the museum, you will find yourself facing not just the undead, but also puzzles that are about as challenging as a game of tic-tac-toe, unfortunately. Yet, despite its lack of originality, Curse, The Eye of Isis manages to maintain a certain charm thanks to its atmospheric environments and well-drawn characters. Oh, and let's not forget about the weapons. From pistols to flamethrowers, the game arms you with all the firepower you need to send those mummies back to their tomb. Just be prepared to reload. A lot. After all, this is the 19th century and they did not have fancy automatic weapons back then. And while Curse, The Eye of Isis may not revolutionize the survival horror genre, it offers a solid experience for those craving a trip down memory lane. Its eerie atmosphere and engaging storyline make it a worthy addition to any horror fan's collection. Ever wondered what it would be like to be stuck in a space hotel infested with aliens? Me neither, but welcome to the world of Lifeline, where your vocal cords become your most valuable weapon. Lifeline puts you into a scenario straight out of a sci-fi nightmare. You're attending a Christmas party at an orbiting space hotel when all hell breaks loose. Separated from your girlfriend and trapped into a control room, your only lifeline is a waitress named Rio. But here is the twist, you control Rio with your voice. That's right, you are not just a helpless bystander in this horror show, you are the puppet master pulling the strings. But be warned, commanding Rio isn't as easy as it sounds. Think of it like trying to teach your grandma how to use a smartphone. Frustrating, but oddly entertaining. The concept behind Lifeline is undeniably intriguing. It's a unique blend of adventure gaming and voice recognition technology that promises immersive gameplay. But does it deliver? Well, let's just say it tries its best. Just like trying to teach grandma how to use Facebook, Lifeline's voice recognition system can be a real pain in the neck. Sure, you can tell Rio what to do, but good luck getting her to understand you. One wrong word and she's off on a wild goose chase, leaving you screaming at your TV like a lunatic. But beneath the frustration lies a genuinely innovative experience. The game's premise, controlling a character through voice commands, offers a level of immersion that's hard to find elsewhere. When it works, it's like stepping into the shoes of a character in a sci-fi thriller. And let's not forget about the combat. Sure, it's clunky as hell, but there is something oddly satisfying about yelling "shoot" at your TV screen. Just don't expect to feel like a badass action hero. More like a frustrated parent trying to get their kid to clean their room. In terms of presentation, Lifeline is a mixed bag. The visuals are serviceable, if unremarkable, and the voice acting ranges from decent to downright cringeworthy. But hey, at least Rio's got a personality, even if it's a bit robotic at times. So if you're up for a challenge and don't mind shouting at your TV, this game is unique enough to worth a try. But if you're expecting a polished AAA experience, you might want to look elsewhere, because Lifeline is a game with ambitious ideas that fall short of their full potential. It's a flawed gem, a rough diamond waiting forever to be polished. Michigan, Report from Hell, is a curious beast, a chimera of brilliance and bafflement. But before we dive into the nitty-gritty, let me pose a question. Is Michigan truly the worst good horror game of all time? Or does it dance on the razor's edge of brilliance and absurdity? The stage is set, the scene is Chicago, and the fog rolls in like a shroud of mystery, blanketing the city in an ominous embrace. But this isn't your typical fog. It's thick, suffocating, and hides more than just the skyline. It hides real horror. We are thrust into the chaos as a plane crashes into the Lake Michigan, sending ripples of panic through the city. One of the local media company, hungry for ratings, smells a story and sends in their finest, but as they arrive on the scene, they are met with more than just a crash site. Monstrous creatures, twisted nightmares from the depths of hell, roam the streets, feasting on the flesh of the living. And you are not the hero. No, sir. You are the guy behind the camera, filming the chaos unfold like some twisted reality show. But don't let that fool you. Michigan isn't just another run-of-the-mill survival horror. It's a commentary on the absurdity of the genre itself, a satirical take on the tropes we come to know and love. And let me tell you, those choices, they are as twisted as they come. Do you film the grisly deaths for ratings? Or do you lend a helping hand and sacrifice the scoop? It's a moral minefield and Michigan revels in it. For every stroke of brilliance, there is a stumble in the darkness. Michigan's gameplay can feel like a slog at times, with frustration lurking around every corner. Yet, beyond the chaos, there is a glimmer of something profound, a reflection on the role of media, sex, and gender in our society. So, is Michigan a masterpiece or a mess? Well, that depends on who you ask. For some, it's a cult classic, a diamond in the rough. For others, it's a dumpster fire, a cautionary tale of what happens when ambition outstrips execution. But one thing's for certain, Michigan Report from Hell is an experience like no other. It may not be perfect, but it's undeniably thought-provoking.
You filmed me naked! I had no idea that's what you were into. But listen to me. Your personal tastes are your own affair.
What fate awaits a warrior who's claimed many lives, only to meet his own demise? You are standing at the river Styx, face to face with death himself. He lays down the ultimatum: either descend into hell's inferno or prove yourself worthy of reincarnation. But the journey to redemption is deceptive, filled with danger that only your actions in the netherworld can alter. Welcome to Hungry Ghosts, a first-person adventure with a pinch of action. You assume the role of a fallen warrior navigating the afterlife, questing for the gate of judgment. Armed with a spear and an empty crossbow, you embark on a journey where every choice shapes your destiny. This very title, crafted by the minds at Deep Space, led by Tokaru Fujiwara of Ghosts and Goblins. Hungry Ghosts plucks you from the troubles of daily life and throws you into a realm haunted by soul-seeking solace. Their suffering is mirroring your own. Death's revelation sparks a quest for truth and redemption, where confronting past sins is the only path to salvation. Mechanically, Hungry Ghosts marries first-person immersion with third-person storytelling. Your journey unfolds through a lens that is both intimate and distant, blurring the lines between observer and participant. Control schemes echo classics like King's Field, demanding precision in every action, from opening doors to facing spectral opponents. The combat isn't a mere button mash. It's a mix of finesse and strategy, weapons wielded through complex analog stick movements, bringing a sense of vulnerability with every strike. Spirit and vitality meters serve you as your lifelines, depleting with each encounter, reinforcing the risky nature of your existence. Visually, Hungry Ghosts is a masterclass in atmospheric design. Its Lovecraftian landscapes bring dread and wonder, while subtle details like breath clouds add a layer of immersion. Audio design is equally outstanding, with every sound cue contributing to the game's haunting ambience. Hungry Ghosts isn't just a game, it's an odyssey through the afterlife, a journey of self-discovery and redemption. Its blend of mythology, mechanics, and mature storytelling makes it a standout experience worthy of exploration.
私のオルゴールを鳴らしてくれたの？嬉しい。
Remember those childhood visits to Disneyland? The Haunted Mansion ride with its eerie atmosphere and ghostly inhabitants has been a staple of childhood memories for generations. Now, imagine if that experience came to life in a video game. That's exactly what the Haunted Mansion aims to do. But unlike its less than stellar movie adaptation, this game stays true to the spirit of the original ride. You take on the role of Zeke Holloway, a young aspiring author who finds himself trapped in the mansion's labyrinthian halls. Guided by the enigmatic Madame Leota, you must navigate the mansion, capture its resident spirits, and restore light to its darkened rooms. It is a simple premise, but one that sets the stage for a thrilling adventure. As you explore the mansion, you will encounter a mix of familiar faces and new challenges. From friendly ghosts to menacing ones, each encounter adds depth to the game's rich lore. And while the puzzles may not break new ground, they provide a satisfying blend of challenge and reward. But it's not all smooth and sailing in the land of the undead. The game's controls can feel a bit clunky at times, especially during platforming sections, and the endless ghost hunting can start to feel repetitive after a while. Still, for fans of Disney iconic attraction, these minor flaws are easily overlooked. Visually, the Haunted Mansion strikes a balance between spooky and stylish. Its character designs are reminiscent of the ride's iconic ghouls, while its environments are suitably eerie. And while the graphics may not be cutting edge, they get the job done. On the audio front, the game delivers a chilling soundtrack and atmospheric sound effects. From whispered voices to thunderous crashes, each sound adds to the game's immersive atmosphere. The only downside? Some of the sound effects can feel a bit overused. In the end, the Haunted Mansion is a solid adventure game that stays true to its source material. With its mix of familiar characters, challenging puzzles, and spooky atmosphere, it's a title that's sure to please Disney fans of all ages.
And now, a short commercial break.
I can't believe this. Listen to me. We're doing this together. I need you. I need you.
What happens when a video game tries to be more like a movie? Fahrenheit or Indigo Prophecy for you folks in America tried to answer this question back in 2005. The game aimed to create an interactive movie experience which sparked a mix of reactions. Some embraced the concept with open arms, while others scoffed, arguing that technically wasn't a game. Almost 2 decades later, it's time to revisit this ambitious title and see if it's still worth our time. Picture this. New York City is gripped by a deep freeze, and bizarre murders are spreading like a cold virus. Normal people are suddenly killing others and then themselves. In the middle of this chaos, we follow 3 characters. Lucas Kane, a 9-to-5 IT worker with a penchant for Shakespeare, Carla Valenti, a claustrophobic cop, and Tyler Miles, Carla's basketball-loving partner who serves as a comic relief. The story is the game's strongest draw, filled with twists and turns that make it feel more like a film than a game. If it hooks you from the beginning, you are likely to see it through to the end. The game kicks off with a bang. Lucas Kane, in a state of possession, cuts his wrists and stabs an innocent man in a diner bathroom. When he snaps out of it, you take control, deciding whether to hide the body and sneak out or just bolt in a panic. The entire game hinges on your decisions, and some choices can lead to death, forcing you to restart the scene. Multiple routes let you progress through the story in various ways, giving you a sense of agency. You control your characters with the left thumbstick and interact with items using the right thumbstick. Major action scenes use a Simon Says-style QuickTime event, the infamous QTE system, where you have to match the on-screen prompts with your analog sticks. And one of the game's more interesting mechanics is the mood meter, which tracks your character's mental stability based on your decisions. If the meter drops too low, it's game over. Unfortunately, this mechanic doesn't have a significant impact on the story unless you are intentionally trying to get your character depressed just to see the game over scene. The 3D character models and environments show their age, but if you're invested in the story, the visuals won't deter you. Motion capture was used for the character animations, adding a layer of realism. There is even a behind-the-scenes documentary like a DVD extra, which is a neat addition. The soundtrack is another high point, featuring music from real artists like Theory of a Dead Man and Nina Simone. It uses songs effectively in the right scenes. The score itself is excellent, with melodies that perfectly match the mood of each scene, making the experience feel like a blockbuster film. The voice acting is solid, essential for a story-driven game, though occasionally a line of dialogue from a background character might break the immersion. Fahrenheit isn't a long game, you can complete it in 2 long gaming sessions. There are multiple endings, but after one playthrough you might not feel compelled to replay it immediately. It's one of those games you revisit occasionally, making different choices to see how the story changes.
Hello, I'm Detective Tyler Miles, New York Police. Are you Lucas Kane? I just got a couple of questions for you. It's just that I don't really see how I could be of any help to you.
What makes a game truly unique in an industry full of recycled ideas and mechanics? This is the question Galerian's Ash tries to answer. With its bold attempt to blend classic 3D action-adventure gameplay with a fresh story steeped in sci-fi themes, it initially stands out. But does it maintain this originality, or does it fall back into familiar territory? The game kicks off with an intriguing narrative that borrows heavily from sci-fi classics like The Terminator, Akira, and The Matrix. In this dystopian world, a supercomputer named Dorothy, complete with unsettlingly decorative breasts, was created to serve humanity. Predictably, Dorothy decides she is superior to humans and begins creating super beings called Galerians. In a neat twist, Dorothy's creators plant a super virus in their son, Orion, to take her down with the launch code hidden in the girl named Lilia. Together, these two hold the key to humanity's survival. If you missed the original Galerians on the PS1, do not worry. This sequel does a great job catching you up with an opening movie and a playable prologue. This first level serves as a recap and a tutorial, introducing you to the game's mechanics as you navigate the aftermath of Dorothy's supposed distraction. Playing as Rion, who's kept in stasis by Lily until the time is right, you dive into a world of psychic combat. Unlike your typical action-adventure hero armed to the teeth, Rion uses various psychic powers to add a unique twist to the gameplay. These powers, ranging from shockwaves to telekinesis and lightning attacks, evolve in an RPG fashion, making each encounter a strategic dance of mental endurance. However, the combat system isn't without its flaws. The lock-on mechanism, while helpful, is hampered by timing issues. Charging your psychic attacks leaves you vulnerable, and if hit, you will have to restart the process. This can be frustrating, especially when enemies attack from a distance or surround you, exposing the limitations of your shield power. It's a learning curve that can feel steep, but perseverance pays off. Beyond combat, exploration and puzzle solving are central to Galerians 2. The game's puzzles are straightforward but often hindered by rigid scripting. You can't pick up items until the game decides you need them, leading to unnecessary backtracking. This design choice can be frustrating as it forces you to follow a linear path, even when you already figured out what to do next. Visually, the game is a mixed bag. The environments are stunning, featuring reflective floors and biotech art design that immerse you into a futuristic setting. The game runs smoothly, no matter the scene complexity. However, the character animations don't quite match up, with some enemies looking uninspired and the human characters coming off as typical anime-style figures. The cutscenes are a highlight, with over an hour of cinematics ranging from impressive pre-rendered sequences to in-game engine videos. Despite some lip-syncing issues, the storytelling through these cutscenes is engaging and adds depth to the narrative. Sound design in Galerian's Ash complements its sci-fi atmosphere very well. The techno-synth soundtrack blends seamlessly into the background, enhancing the mood without overpowering it. Sound effects, especially those for psychic powers, are adequate, though they don't stand out. The voice acting, unfortunately, ranges from average to subpar, with some lines delivered with little emotion, reminiscent of the infamous dialogue in the original Resident Evil. In conclusion, Galerian's Ash is a game that may not appeal to everyone, but for those who enjoy action, adventure, survival horror, or a good sci-fi story, it's worth a try. Ever wondered what it's like to unleash a bunch of ghosts from a containment unit and then be forced to catch them all? Yeah, me neither. But that's the premise of Ghost Hunter, a game that throws rookie cop Lazarus Jones into a supernatural mess of his own making. It's like playing Ghostbusters, but with less Bill Murray and more what did I just release into the world. The game starts with Lazarus accidentally freeing a horde of ghosts. Now, under the direction of a rather bossy AI computer, he's got to clean up his ectoplasmic mess. Of course, he's not doing this out of the goodness of his heart. His partner has been kidnapped by a medieval ghost, with plans that are as murky as the graphics of this PS2 classic. The story does take some interesting turns, but do not expect all your burning questions to be answered by the time the credits roll. Ghost Hunter brings in some quirky boss fights. One moment you're up against a Cthulhu lookalike, the next, who knows? Each boss battle feels unique, like the developers had a let's just throw this in and see what happens approach. The goofy tone of the game complements its premise, offering a decent balance between spooky and silly. Now let's talk gameplay. As a third-person shooter, it is fine. Running around and blasting ghosts with any of the 8 weapons available gets the job done. But things get clunky in first-person mode, where simply you cannot move while aiming. This becomes a real problem when ghostly enemies are hurling ectoplasmic projectiles your way. Worse still, there are moments when you're forced into first-person mode to spot invisible enemies, making you a sitting duck for incoming attacks. It's like the developers wanted to remind you, hey, this is a 2004 game, enjoy the frustration. Visually, well, it's a PS2 game. It's not going to win any awards in 2024, but for this time, it's decent. The real charm comes from the game's visual trickery, transporting players into some genuinely neat and eerie environments. Dreamlike sequences shine, offering a surreal experience that stands out more than going through yet another generic prison level. Despite its age and clunky controls, Ghost Hunter has its moments. The story may not be a literal masterpiece, and some sections might make you want to pull your hair out, but there is something endearing about just busting ghosts.
The accident was the real start of ghost hunting. I bet you were king of the base.
Ever find yourself itching for a game that feels like Gauntlet had a good phase and picked up a modern-day arsenal along the way? Well, let's dive into the dark, ghost-ridden world of Hunter: The Reckoning Wayward. A game that tries to pack all the fun of a co-op monster bash but ends up somewhere between a thrilling haunt and a bit of a slog. The story kicks off after the original Xbox and GameCube titles, putting you right back into Ashcroft, where a new cult has stirred up more undead trouble. The 4 original hunters are back, tipped off by a mysterious new hunter about the latest paranormal chaos. So, it's back to the grind, busting ghosts, slicing through the undead, and taking down the odd boss-like werewolf that needs a serious attitude adjustment. Now, here is where things get interesting. Or frustrating, depending on your tolerance for janky controls. Each hunter is armed with a melee and range weapon unique to their style. You got the judge with high conviction for casting spells and a speedy martyr for those who like to dash around. The game adds a bit of an RPG twist by letting your experience points to beef up your stats and unlock new magical abilities called edges. And these edges are pretty cool, until they are not. The defender can heal, making her almost essential, while other edges boost attacks or create shields. Using edges drains your conviction meter, but no worries, blue gems drop frequently to top it off. So much so that you'll often stroll around with max health and conviction, making it feel a bit too easy at times. When you are not slicing and dicing, you are picking up special weapons like shotguns and machine guns. If you manage to hang on to them after a level, you can carry one into the next, which adds a bit of a strategy. But be prepared from some annoying mission design. You will backtrack through levels, leading helpless NPCs to safety while searching for items in overly large maps that practically beg you to wander aimlessly. Sounds fun, right? Now, if you're thinking, this sounds like it would be a blast with friends, you are half right. The original game shone with its 4-player support, making it a chaotic good time. Wayward, however, cuts that down to 2 players. Sure, it's better with a buddy than solo, but the absence of 4-player madness feels like a missed opportunity. Graphically, Wayward is a mixed bag. It's dark, like really dark, While this fits the gothic vibe, sometimes it feels like someone smeared Vaseline on your TV screen. The built-in brightness setting helps, but the game's overall look is blurry and the animation is jerky. It tries to be spooky but ends up just straining your eyes after a while. On the audio front, things improve. The voice acting, though sparse, is solid, and the eerie monster sounds and combat effects hit the right notes. It's just a shame that visuals can't keep up. Solo players might find it a bit dull and repetitive, but if you got a friend to join you, it's a decent way to spend a few hours busting undead heads. Did you ever wonder why some absolute gems never made it to the US? I'm talking about Shadow Tower Abyss. A game so close to getting a proper localization, it hurts. But no, the folks at SCOA decided to pull the plug. It is a crime, really, because this game is a masterpiece. It's got this hilarious bad fan translation with weapons named high swords and low swords that somehow adds to its quirky charm. Seriously, it's so awkward that it circles back to being cool. From Software's early first-person RPGs have this visible evolution, and Shadow Tower Abyss is a standout. Kingsfield 2 gave us a more tangible world, while Kingsfield 3 aimed for grandeur but lost some of its special magic. Then came Shadow Tower, a game that did a lot with very little. Kingsfield Ancient City tried to blend these lessons but got a bit lost in the shiny new PS2 era. But Shadow Tower Abyss? This game nails it. It is where From Software learned to make combat fun and refine their aesthetic on higher fidelity systems. Abyss retains the survival horror vibes of the original, but ditches the bleak, proto-demon Souls look for something more primal. Imagine a weird alien tribal world. The sound design is off the charts, seeing naturalistic noises mixed with creepy tech sounds. Enemies are easily identifiable by their unique audio cues, which is both eerie and handy. The only downside? The game screams early 2000s, but that's the part of its charm. The story is set long after the original Shadow Tower. You are a researcher exploring the tower to find a wish-granting spear that turned the last protagonist into a king. The twist? You start at the bottom and work your way up, and you have guns. Yup, guns with limited ammo. Picture this: ancient magical armor, World War I gas mask, and a sniper rifle. You feel like a post-apocalyptic warrior in a medieval world. Finding a revolver in a treasure chest is bizarre but awesome. The combat in Abyss is satisfying to say the least. Enemies flinch when you hit them, limbs fly off, and chopping off arms becomes a strategic move. Unlike Kingsfield, the ancient city, you move and turn fast, making the combat feel more dynamic and engaging. Early on, healing and repairing gear is a bit of a hassle. Equipment repair costs are fixed, regardless of damage, which feels wasteful. Inventory management is another annoyance, making you store items at shop crystals. The shops themselves lack personality, just glowing crystals with menus. I miss the quirky shopkeepers from the original Shadow Tower. Some levels get monotonous, especially gimmick ones. By the end I was craving a tough fight, but felt let down. The final act is a disappointment, both gameplay-wise and thematically. Unlike Shadow Tower, Abyss doesn't give you a strong sense of progression. Also, the hub world you navigate via elevator is underwhelming compared to the interconnected feel of the original. Despite all this, the Abyss is a great fun time. It is a must-try for all the fans of the genre. So this is it. This is today's video. Just a little look back on that amazing PlayStation 2 era and its forgotten horror games. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I was Gabe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, keep gaming.
Now go. But just go.